Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. We're going through the Z52 menu system. We're going to start at the top, go all the way through. We're going to do the I menu and then my custom menu at the bottom. And we're going to talk about the basic setup for it, how I set it up. Now, one of the greatest things about the Z52 is it has a very, very similar menu system to even the Z9. So I can have my Z9 and Z50 set up pretty much identical, except the Z50 is missing a couple of function buttons, but you still have plenty to do what you want it to do. So we're going to go through and I'm going to show you recordings of the electronic viewfinder for all the different settings I use. I do recommend using the YouTube timeline across the bottom so you can check for the video settings, photo settings, custom button settings, all that good stuff. And this is just the beginning of the Z52 review series. We're going to go through a comparison video between the Z50 Generation 1 and 2, the spec comparisons, how the EVF responds with the Speed 7 CPU versus the Speed 6 in the previous generation. And we're going to do real world testing and examples from photo, video, the handling. We're going to do a lot of deep dive in this, so expect a couple episodes out of this. And then once I'm done with everything, I will put it all in one video, and you can watch the entire thing in one long-form video format. I'm pretty excited about the Z52 because I've been wanting something to pair with the Z9 that does 4K N-Log internal, so pretty excited. So let's jump into the menus and see what we got.
Okay, so here we have the beginnings of looking at the I menu and how I have that set up. Now you can easily go into the menu and set this how you want, but this is how mine is, so your mileage may vary. So across the top we have metering, we have white balance. I have that set to Kelvin so that we can be sure that we are in a daylight white balance without letting the camera do it. It's not a huge deal, but that's just my personal preference on it. And we have auto area subject mode detection type, so you can pick birds, people, planes, whatever. Then your focus mode, it's always an autofocus continuous for myself. It says MF in this though because there's no lens attached whenever I'm recording the menu. Focus shift shooting for macro stuff, silent shutter, flash, don't really use that, and custom controls, so that you can go in there and move around your custom controls without digging too deep into the menus to find that option. Camera usually lives in VR Sport. And on the bottom left here we have monitor viewfinder brightness, and I always have it pumped all the way up to 5. That way you can take full advantage of the EVF being at 1000 nits brightness, and it will be plenty bright enough to use sunglasses or transition lenses. And we'll just show my menu at the very bottom. The menu options, you can just add things to this that you want. I usually just have the format memory card here. And also on the other cameras you can have an option to show your battery percentage and your battery information, but on the Z52 you don't get that option. You only have the 3 bars in the viewfinder telling you what your battery is at, and that's kind of annoying. Not a big fan of that. So here we are at the very top of the menu system here in the photo shooting menu, and we'll just go right down the list through all the menus, and I will point out all the major things that I changed that I feel really help to use the camera. But of course you can change how you think it fits you once you're used to using the camera. This is just a good starting place, I believe, for a lot of people. So you want to set the camera to RAW because we're going to be shooting in RAW photos, and for RAW recording I use high efficiency star. Some people say there is a difference between high efficiency star and lossless compression. I don't shoot that extreme of situations to where it really comes into play, and high efficiency star lets you have more on your card as well. And if you're only using like a V30 or V60 SD card, you can get a little bit better buffer rate out of the camera. Leave it all the same. Picture control is standard, and manage picture control, this is where you can download and install the picture profiles from the Nikon app. But not really a thing for me, so I don't really mess with it. Color space is sRGB. I do not use active delighting or anything like that. And if you ever come across anything that you don't understand what it's talking about or suggesting, in the top right of the menu there will be a question mark, and since it's touchscreen, you just tap the question mark and it will bring up an explanation of what you're looking at. Long exposure noise reduction I always turn on because I like doing long exposure photos. and always leave high ISO noise reduction at normal, because you can just do that in post when you edit in your editing program. You want to have diffraction, compensation, and auto distortion on, so that it will use the in-camera profiles to remove like pin cushion and diffraction from any lens that's attached and the camera recognizes. We're not really going to worry about metering because that's on our My Eye menu, and the flash I'm not going to worry about. The release mode I'm not going to worry about because there's a dedicated button on the back of the camera for it, and all the other options like AF area mode and subject detection and whatnot is in our Eye menu as well. That's pretty much it for the photo shooting menu, so now we're going to move on to the video menu. So here you can select what type of video file type you want to shoot. I usually just live in 265 10-bit N-Log, and it's in 4K 30. And it's pretty important here to use your white balance in Kelvin, and again, make sure vignetting control, diffraction, auto distortion, all that is on. Metering is going to be matrix for the most part, so it takes into account everything around you when you're doing video, or the subject, everything that's around the subject. In electronic VR, I leave it off. It gives too much of a jittery composition. If you try to play it back, it's just not that great. Microphone sensitivity, I leave that on manual, and I usually set it to 15. And then a frequency response, I always change the voice because usually it's me in front of the camera talking, so that works for what I do. And I do not use wind reduction because of the dead cat that I use on my shotgun microphone. Doesn't let any wind in anyway, so not really needed. So here we are in the custom settings menu. This gets pretty in-depth, and as you can see, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way down. And inside each sub-menu, it would be like A1, A2, A3. So if you see something you're looking for in the video, make sure you reference that A number or B number for what you're looking for. So if you're looking for like B17, you know, it'll be the 17th item in submenu B for metering and exposure. So for focus points used, I make sure it's all focus points. That way, if you're trying to move the focus point of something on a branch, you still have the option to select it and not have it skip by. This AF activation is where you would select if you wanted to use back button focusing with the AF on button. I don't use it. I can never get used to it. It just screws me over, so I don't mess with it. And then A8 is limit AF area mode selection. So whenever you cycle through your different autofocus types, you don't have to go through all like 15 options. You can just dumb it down to only the couple you know you're always going to use. So I always have pinpoint, dynamic area, small and medium, with 3D tracking and auto area. Whenever you are in face detect, it'll automatically switch to matrix metering so that you don't accidentally expose for just your face instead of the whole scene, which does not make it look very good if you only expose for your face and not the scene. At D1, you can change what continuous low shooting speed is. I set it to 3 because that's pretty easy to manage if you just want to shoot single or a little bit of a burst. Then we have pre-release capture options, and this is only available when you're shooting in JPEG. Never leave your shutter type in automatic. Make sure it's in mechanical so that the camera doesn't make that decision by itself. Always turn on extended shutter speeds so that you don't need a intervalometer to take long exposure landscape photos, so that you can do it in camera up to 15 minutes. And this is a very important big one. Make sure you select for view mode at D10 show effects of settings, so whenever you look through the viewfinder you can see how the exposure is going to look for the image in the viewfinder. D16 is grid type, so you can see your rule of thirds or other versions of it to help you with your framing. And then we have D17 for virtual horizon type. Personally, I like type B. And then D19, you can customize how you want your monitor to look with different settings. And this is how I have mine set up, but you can add different displays and options and kind of go a little hog wild on how it looks and how it's set up. And then also the next one, D20, is the same thing. You can customize how the viewfinder looks, your EVF. Again, I do not mess with flash, so none of that auto ISO with flash or bracketing matters. Now here we have F1 for customizing the eye menu, and you can adjust everything you want. in the I menu. For this I menu, this is for the photo mode. F2 is custom controls, like I had programmed in the I menu originally, so you don't have to go into this menu to find it. One of my biggest tips I can tell you is change the video record button to AF plus right here. That way, whenever you press down on the record button when you're shooting photos, you can use that in one of the wheels on the back of the camera to cycle through autofocus continuous, single, manual, or your different autofocus continuous types like 3D tracking or pinpoint or auto area. This makes it so much smoother to switch mid-shoot instead of trying to fumble for like a function button or something else, or go into the menus. And then I also suggest, if you have the ability to program the lens function button LFN2, so that you can change that to a very specific autofocus type. I always change it to single point. That way you can change the single point by pressing the button on the lens, and then you can manually focus, and then you can use that to peer through brush or sticks and things to see your target subject without the camera like freaking out on the things around it. Now we're going to go down to G1. This is the video portion of customization. Now G1 is going to be customizing the I menu for your video function. So whenever you flip the switch to switch to video, that's the I menu you're going to be seeing. Then with G5 for AF speed, I kind of toned it up a little bit to +2, and I select always, so that it's always autofocusing at that speed, even if you're not pressing record. Because it's very frustrating that whenever you go to press record and the camera is not locked onto the fast moving subject. Then we have G6 AF tracking sensitivity. I turned that down to 3, so it's a little more sensitive and aggressive in video for subject tracking. And I turn on extended shutter speeds. That way, when you're doing video, if you want to do a shutter speed slower than your frame rate, you have the ability to do that. So if you're shooting 24p, you can shoot a frame of like 15. Make sure your view assists are on. You want to make sure you do not forget about those. And then the brightness information, you can change it to waveform, medium, or large. I would just go with the medium one. And as in photo mode, you can go through and do custom settings for your EVF and back screen display. Always be sure you have the red record frame indicator on, so you remember that the camera is recording.
So as you can see, it's absolutely dumping snow on me right now. And we're going to hurry this up and get out there to do some photo video clips with the 180 to 600 and other lenses. So until next time, while I'm out there shooting, I wish you the best of luck. I'll see you.